We'll start with a slide which shows us all enjoying our work up at Apollo Hill in the middle of the desert. And see our exploration manager sat at the back smiling as well. But that was when we were doing a bit of diamond drilling earlier this year, and some nice visible gold came out in the core, which is always nice to see. Without further ado, a lot of words on that slide, but I'll sort of summarise for you. Essentially, we listed in March this year in a heavily subscribed, oversubscribed IPO. I think we timed it perfectly in terms of the market. Since that time, we've done just under 10,000 metres of drilling, 3 drill programs, nearly 80 holes, and had a really good go at this deposit in terms of not just making it bigger, but trying to make it better. As well as that, we've 1,000 square kilometres of tenements, which I'll come on to later, but we've done about 750 square k's of that with high resolution magnetics, and that speaks to some extent about the underexplored nature of the ground. I suppose to summarise what that's done, we've been working at trying to improve the grade of the system towards our next resource upgrade, which is due in the next 2 to 3 weeks, fingers crossed. And then really, most importantly, opening up the next stage of growth for the deposit and for the company. Point on that slide, I suppose, key point, strong, well-funded register with I suppose, an improving market cap, and I hope some recognition of the work we've been doing at the deposit. Still plenty of cash in the bank, but a very, I suppose, tightly held and well-supported stock. Delighted to have people in such as Hampton Hill, Joshua Pitt, who's a well-known explorer and a very successful explorer in Western Australia, and also Soul Patts, from an institutional support point of view. Onto the board, myself, I'm an ex-Newmont geologist as well as the last gentleman, and so I've sort of cut my teeth in gold in Western Australia and a few different deposits around the world. I was delighted to come and take on what I see as a major mineralised system with Apollo Hill. Rob Tyson, our chairman, this company was spun out of Peel Mining. Peel Mining's had a very successful past few years, and I say Rob, has an exemplary exploration record in terms of a discovery with Mallee Bull, Wagga Tank, and most recently Southern Nights. Andrew Venn, smiling young fella there, he's ex-stockbroker, so he brings a bit of sort of corporate nous to the board, and he's also Chief Operating Officer of DDH1. And Ryan, our Company Secretary and CFO, has also been instrumental in the growth of Peel and getting this company started. So, kind of key points on there, I suppose. Fantastic location in the Eastern Goldfields. We're about 2 hours drive north of Cal, but I suppose the diagram itself speaks to a couple of things. One is we're sat on the Keith Kilkenny lineament, which is one of the most fertile structures and arguably responsible for Carosue Dam, Sons of Gwalia, and a few others up that lineament being there. The bit I like to sort of point out is when you look at the synchronicity of multi-million ounce deposits in that region, I see there's a big gap. If I can make the laser work on both sides of the screen at once, through there where we've really not seen any deposits developed. And that's due to sort of, if you want, commodity cycles. The ground's been held up in different sort of status, and I don't think the stars are quite aligned. And I think also the gold infrastructure in that part of the region does really offer us some opportunities to help get this deposit started. Let's have a look at the actual resource itself. I'll put a picture on there just to give you some feel of the size of it and its robustness. I suppose the diagram itself shows that the deposit is about 80 metres thick at the top. Nice solid ore zone. So despite having being classified as a lower grade deposit, we are tending towards a much lower strip. And also the fact that the deposit has only been drilled down to about 180 metres vertical depth. So in terms of a large mineralised system like this, it's still pretty young in terms of exploration. And the holes on there at the moment are the sort of RC holes and diamond holes that we have in place at the moment. And I guess I'm really trying to show that, you know, the step-out drilling that was done by Peel opened up some huge opportunities, such as those kind of intersections that we've been following up on this year. And the deposit, I think, still has a long way to go, and I'll make a call on where I think that's going shortly. So progress since listing in that 10,000 metres of drilling. We see, if I press play on this, we should see a few things coming in. The red box is the existing resource that you've just sort of had a closer look at. You can see all the drill holes on there. The white dots are the drill holes that we've done this year. So that brings into sort of focus two things. One is the fact that those green boxes have extended by 370 metres. So that gives you some indication of where we think this next resource upgrade's going in terms of ounces in a visual way without me making too much of a call. But secondly, those drill collars within the red box have been very much focused on improving the quality of the resource and really trying to pull out some higher grade shoots that we've seen within the deposit. And I'll show you what we've done. You can also see a few scattered air core intersections to the north and south on that diagram, which again is the sort of next phase of growth for the deposit. To sort of cut that into, if you want, three easily digestible points. One is that extension. There's some huge intersections on there in terms of thickness and grade, and I suppose I can point out on the slide that the intersections we have up there and we've reported consistently over the last 3 months have been of at least an equal tenor to the resource, and potentially they at least compare favourably to the resource grade. So we hope to see some growth in the grade of the resource from that. The higher grade shoots within that system, we'll have a look at one of those in cross section in the middle, but we do see some thick 2.7, 3, 4 gram shoots within the actual deposit that are now hanging together very consistently and are going to provide another sort of mining option or different economic front for this deposit. And most importantly, the reef infill has really taught us a few things about the continuity of some of these structures, and I'll again show you some cross sections. I suppose two of the best intersections we've had, or not the best intersections, but the best drill sections, have been on either end of that deposit, which is again that next sort of stage of growth. This first one is within Apollo Hill, and it's to try and exhibit the strength of those high-grade plunging shoots within the deposit. So I think if you did the numbers on those intersections, you'd end up with a nice sort of thick 15 to 20 metre zone at 3 grams, something like that. And that, we do know, continues at depth and certainly will be the future of exploration in the months to come. That section there I've put together because it goes quite well to demonstrate the multiple lenses, but also if you can imagine a sort of 45-degree pitch shape around that ore body, that really illustrates why we think this does have some advantages over some of our peers in terms of strip ratio. And also I think the hanging wall lenses themselves still need a tremendous amount of exploration. And I think that we'll see some ounces grow there in the mineral inventory. In terms of improving the quality of the system, we also see a lovely section there which is right on the very northern end of the deposit and completely open. And the core of that ore zone there is 10 metres thick. We see it hang together beautifully as a proper structure, 3 grams, and the the sort of outside halo is about 1.87, which again is much better than that resource grade. So an improvement there. The very southern end of the deposit, I was delighted to see some of the best intersections we've had to date. That one's 58 metres at 1.06. I think the best sort of thickest 1 gram intersection we had was 100 metres. And those are the sort of intersections that, if by my memory at least, I was seeing at Gruyere in the early days when Gold Road first started discovering that beautiful deposit. So we'll see where that leads, because again, that's the most southern section. Just to put that exploration picture, step out a scale from the actual deposit, we can see the red box you saw in the earlier diagram, the green box, which is the extension, the white drill collars. But over the top, we've got a geochemical and air core gold anomaly, which is about 6 kilometres long. And that's the corridor, if you want, that we really want to start expanding and exploring in the next phase of drilling. If you look at some of the intersections along that corridor, my favourite one is 600 metres to the north with 5 at 25.9 grams, and that is a really nice piece of low-hanging fruit which will be out there in about 2 weeks' time, giving a bit of a push. 900 metres to the south on the Ra corridor, another sort of 10 metres at 1 grams, and those are the sort of intersections you would find in the heart of Apollo Hill itself. And it is absolutely just, to my mind, a lack of drill density or a lack of drilling, and that will see this system grow. And there's a few more on even secondary structures that we've recently sort of developed out of our drilling and started to join the dots. But I mean, my sort of vision for the deposit is, I see that as being a 2 million ounce corridor in the next couple of years. And I'm not saying 2 million ounce resource at this stage, I'll call it and say 2 million ounce inventory, but I'll also make the point that that's within the top 200 metres. So without really deepening this system, I see the potential for a very nice, big open pit to a very reasonable depth at a very reasonable stripping ratio. Actually 6 kilometre corridor. Let's have from a sort of production scenario, let's have a bit of a think about the metallurgy. There's 2 huge composites being done through the centre of the deposit by Peel, and the gravity recovery was more than 60%, which was absolutely fantastic. Very easy cyanidation, and that 92% figure there I'll sort of point out is in a 300 micron grind, which is the coarsest commercial grind size you probably see. And what that really means is it transfers to low energy cost in terms of processing this, but also the heap leach characteristics at very coarse crush sizes. The gold is really very easily liberated. I'll play a video there for you, and this is some work we've been looking at recently. This is Geocorex, or Geocorex 10 by OreXplore, where they actually basically x-ray the core and you get to have a look inside, and you can see the little yellow gold grains inside that deposit. And I suppose, as well as being a nice little marketing tool to show everyone visible gold, the real sort of power of that was the ability for us to see where that gold deports. Now, the fact that the intersections we scanned, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 samples, it was proper ore intersections, were held up in purely in the white quartz veins, does again lend this deposit to be to ore sorting. So if we can visually ore sort the white quartz from the green, fresh country rock, then we could see potential for a serious upgrade. So that's really where our metallurgical processing is going to go in, or our test work is going to go in the next year. As well as the deposit itself, I'd sort of point out again that there's 1,000 square kilometres of contiguous land package, 750 square kilometres we've had to do with high resolution airborne magnetics, That was being done in the Yandal Belt where Jundee mine is 25 years ago. So to me, this is completely underexplored in one of the best greenstone belts in Australia. And you see some major deposits like Gwalia, Carosue Dam, not too far away along strike. 3.5 kilometres east, we see of the Apollo Hill deposit, we see Bob's Bore. And I'll sort of point out the tenure of that intersection in that those intersections are not parts per billion, they're plus gram intersections over a 65 metre wide dolerite zone. And there is not another drill hole of any type for 5 kilometres that way and 5 kilometres that way. We've done a lot of geophysics over that, and that's going to be a corridor that we launch into in the coming months as well. Right down the southern end of the deposit, last but not least, sorry, not of the deposit, of the ground, some sort of 30, 40 kilometres away. We have an intersection there of 17 metres at 6 grams a tonne. And when we were putting the IPO together, we were doing the research and reading through the old mines reports, and I came across that and I thought 17 metres at 6, that's kind of, Thunderbox was probably found on an intersection like that. So I went to the next annual report the year after and I found no follow-up work, and I went to the one the year after and I thought, oh, there's something not right here. And sure enough, that whole trend, about 5 kilometres long, there's a number of significant RAB and air core intersections that just haven't been followed up. And you could fit another 2 or 3 Apollo Hills at least in that. So I really see the massive regional potential. I guess the key point there is for the next 12 months, and just to finish off, a tremendous sort of push on nearly 20,000 metres of drill exploration, not just on the deposit, but also regionally to bring some of those other targets, which are, again, low-hanging fruit up to speed and into the portfolio. And that's it. And thank you very much.